Welcome to everyone tonight for this Creation Care collaboration. I want to start with, I get these Monday notes from nature from the Center for Spirituality and Nature. And this was Monday's note. And I thought it was particularly appropriate on the eve of Ash Wednesday. It's from Ode to Dirt by Sharon Olds. And of course, we remember that we are dust, and to dust we shall return. So she writes, Dear Dirt, I am sorry I slighted you. I thought that you were only the background for the leading characters, the plants and animals and human animals. It's as if I had loved only the stars and not the sky, which gave them space in which to shine. Subtle, various, sensitive, you are the skin of our terrain. You're our democracy. When I understood I had never honored you as a living equal, I was ashamed of myself, as if I had not recognized a character who looked so different from me. But now I can see us all, made of the same basic materials, cousins of that first exploding from nothing, in our intricate equation together. Oh, Dirt, help us find ways to serve your life, you who have brought us forth and fed us, and who at the end will take us in, and rotate with us, and wobble and orbit.
It's nice.
I like that. It was
That's nice. Yeah, I
a
do
way
too.
to think about it. It's all interconnected.
Yes.
Yes.
So thank you all for being here tonight. I think we'll go ahead and do a couple of introductions. We have a very wonderful guest with us who is no longer going to be a guest. She's going to be one of us. Gabrielle Earl, who is from Lutherans Restoring Creation. She is the new outreach coordinator working with Phoebe on the national level. So let's go ahead and go around. We'll just briefly say who you are and where you're from. And then I'd like to give her a few minutes to talk about her role and how she might be of help to all of us. So Steve and Kathy, why don't you start?
I'm Kathy Couch and my husband Steve. We're from First Lutheran in Topeka, Kansas, and I am the coordinator for our Lutherans Restoring Creation, which we call ourselves Earth First.
Okay. How about Susan?
Hi, my name is Susan Meyer. I think you may have been on a call that I was on recently. I'm from the Baltimore area. My church's name is Faith Lutheran, and I represent the Delaware, Maryland Synod.
Hey, Bob.
Excuse me. Hi, I'm Bob Morin. I'm with Holy Cross Lutheran Church, and we're in Creve Coeur, Missouri, which is a suburb of St. Louis.
Hey, Cindy.
I'm Cindy Gross. I'm from Bethel Lutheran in University City, Missouri, which is also St. Louis, and I'm the chair of our green team.
And Cheryl. I think Cheryl, you've met. Yeah.
I'm Cheryl Meerhoff, and I'm in Columbia, Missouri, which is right in the middle of the state, equidistant between Kansas City and St. Louis. And I'm at St. Andrew's Lutheran, and I am the volunteer coordinator for our green team, which is we call ourselves the Creation Keepers Ministry.
Hey. So Gabrielle, would you like to just say a few words?
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Gabrielle. Like Noni already said, I am with Lutherans Restoring Creation. So I get to do all the stuff. If you've met Phoebe, I get to do all the stuff that Phoebe is not able to do for lack of time because I have a full-time position, which is very exciting. I am in Puyallup, Washington, which is sort of outside of Seattle and Tacoma. And my role, I'll get to talk to congregations and synods about how Lutherans Restoring Creation can support them. I get to uplift all the good news that I hear your congregations, your communities doing, and I get to help anybody who gets stuck. So that being said, I'm just going to be kind of hanging out tonight and listening to all the great things that you have to share. But if you are in need of somebody to talk to brainstorm with, or if you know somebody who's stuck with their care for creation or somebody who wants to share their story, that's my role. I'll pop my email into the chat so that you can utilize that too. Otherwise, I'll just be spending time listening tonight.
All right. Thanks so much for being here. And thanks to everybody else as well. It's wonderful to have a resource person that we can call on and seriously, if you want some ideas or just bounce some thoughts off of her, if you're feeling stuck, if there's any way that she can be of help, please reach out. Also in the chat tonight is a message from Lisa Brenskelly, who's not able to be here. She is doing a book study group through Lent with Paul Santmeyer's book on eco-activist. So I put that in the chat. I'll also include it in the notes that go with the recording from tonight. If you'd like to sign up for that, she just is amazing with all the programming she does. So we're grateful for her. She couldn't be here tonight. So
I just came from her class.
oh, great.
I'm doing the Living the Change class with her, and it's like my mind is kind of boggled with all the information I just got in this last hour. So anyway.
Yeah, she is a fountain of information. Living the Changes, it's the individual, how you make an individual plan for reducing your greenhouse gas emissions. It's kind of the partner to the Cool Congregations calculator. It uses the individual. And she goes very in depth with that. So are any of you in the Cool Congregations cohort that she's doing now? How's that going? Is that going well? Oh, we can't hear you. You've got your mute on. There you
We
go.
had our first meeting last month and really just laid out a plan of how we're going to start approaching things, and we meet again next week. So she's amazing. She's so, like you said, a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
And so I'm really enjoying it, and I think everyone else is as well. I believe
Good.
there's 6 or 7 of us that are doing it.
Good.
I'm in that group too, Noni.
Oh, wonderful.
And,
Excellent. Okay.
So she's kind of focusing on general topics to give us time to gather data.
Good. Well, I just think all of these efforts are really important as we continue to support ourselves. And in this collaboration, we'll continue to review some of the resources from the Lutherans Restoring Mission Table of Central State Synod, some of those things. And if there are particular areas that you'd like some more information, I have access to lots of good speakers. And so please let me know what would be most helpful to you. Tonight, we're going to look at the March resources. Cheryl is going to share not only the resource that is in the March, but she also is very creative and continues to come up with new ideas. So she'll share that. I also had Richard Nelson was going to talk about his community garden that they began at St. Mark's in Waterville, Kansas with an Earth Charter grant, but he is ill. He has a sinus infection, but I told him I would do my best to represent him. I have some photos, and I know Steve and Kathy just told me they have started a community garden. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then I'll also talk about some of the other resources and give you some ideas for March. But please feel free to share things that have worked in your context. We don't have to stay only with these things, but this will at least get our congregation started. I mean, our conversation. And as a reminder, we are always looking towards fulfilling the memorial to the churchwide and also the Synod resolution about reducing our greenhouse gases by 50% by 2030, and also to go net zero by 2050. So, but engaging in many ways for care of the earth. So I think, Cheryl, would you mind getting us started tonight with your projects and all the beautiful things that you are doing these days?
Okay, what I'm going to share is a resource that grew out of about a year ago. Our church did a discussion on the book Earth, Our Original Monastery by Christine Balders Paintner. And this book really got me started to thinking about how important it is to get out into creation, out into nature, and that we learn from creation as well as our scriptures what our God is like and what our God is up to. And I chose a couple of sentences to read from this book just to kind of give you a background or a taste for this book. And it's kind of interesting that in the gospel for this upcoming Sunday, it's about Jesus going out into the wilderness. And it says, Jesus very intentionally goes out into the wilderness, out into God's nature, in order to find space for contemplation. Just as we might read scriptural text before we make a significant decision, we might also read the original scriptures, creation, as a source of wisdom and solace before the next season of life. Spending time reading the original scriptures helps us also to remember the need to step back, to truly rest and contemplate before we rush into action. And so, as we read this book, every chapter had a number of different, you could call them exercises. There was always a contemplative walk in each of the chapters. And so from that, later I thought I would kind of set the goal of writing a guide to a contemplative walk for each of the seasons. And so I started in spring, and that one I called Wonder with God. And that one's like an individual, just an individual contemplation. You pick your own place where you want to go for the walk, and you read the information and then go on your walk. And there's also scripture. And then in the summer, I did one called One Sun. Sometimes the weather's too hot to be outside, so that one you could do inside, but where you can, sit near where you can like see the sun, and it also involves like mindful eating. And then in fall was another be outside contemplative walk, which I called Gifts of Autumn. And then for the winter season, a lot of times it's too cold to get outside. So I wrote a prayer litany for the season of winter. And so all of these, like in some way involve one interacting with creation. I'm gonna have to get some water here. So these are available in our creation care plan, except for this most recent one. And if you click on the link, it'll take you to a PDF, and it has the script for these for these 3 different guided meditations. And there's like 2 on a sheet, so you can like just use half a sheet of paper. And I've made these available at our display table. We have one for Creation Keepers Ministry and the narthex at church. And so this was something that I made available seasonally for people to take and use. Or I think there's ways like with this, what I did for winter, that could also be used with a group of people as like a opening meditation for some, gathering of some sort. So that was what I have to offer.
That's wonderful. And I will, when I send out the recording, I'll send out the link for the winter prayer litany that Cheryl mentioned. And thank you, Cheryl, for sharing those with us. I think when you read about it's important to stop and listen before we move to action, that you model that so well. And I think that's perhaps part of the fountain of creativity from which you draw in the many things that you do. So
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll share a link. I will also share a link from it's a woman who is a member of All Saints Church in Blue Springs, Missouri, and she kind of did a Lenten calendar similar to the Lenten Carbon Fast, but she kind of took it in a different direction, and it's beautiful. She uses quotes from scripture and different writers, and it's really beautifully done. So I will, in fact, I might go ahead and share that because it might be a week or so before I get the recording. I might go ahead and send it tonight.
That would be great.
Yeah, it's really beautifully done. I am constantly thrilled by just the talent and the wisdom of the people that we work with every day. We don't even, I mean, we don't have to go to, um, major writers and famous people. The wisdom is right among us. And so I love that we can share those things and learn from each other and gather in those gifts. So thank you, Cheryl, for being such an inspiration to us always. Any questions for her or thoughts or?
I have a question, Cheryl. The name of the book again that you did the study?
Yeah, it's called Earth, Our Original Monastery.
And I
And
think it's in one of our months, but I can't remember.
I think it is in one of the months because it's really a wonderful book for discussion, and we did do one session for each of the 7 chapters. And we had really a pretty good attendance overall. We did it I think on a Tuesday evening, so it was by Zoom mostly. It was in person, but it was also by Zoom. And the author is
Yeah.
the author is Christine Valters, Valters, Paintner, Paintner, Christine Valters Paintner. And the book is available from Scorin Books, or I'm sure you can find it on Amazon as well. And
Thank
But
you.
I can include that. I'll include that notation. I'll email right after our meeting so I don't forget, but I'll include that and the prayer litany and also the Lenten calendar. So you'll have
Okay.
those tonight. Okay.
Great. Thanks, Noni.
Sure. Other questions or? Okay. Well, then I'm going to speak on behalf of dear Richard, who couldn't be with us. I'll share my screen. This is not a fancy PowerPoint. This is just so I can show you some great pictures. Richard is a member of our Lutherans Restoring Creation Mission Table, and he is also a member of St. Mark's Lutheran Church in Waterville, Kansas. He and his church applied for a Earth Charter grant that was available through Central State Synod. And we've also partnered with New England Synod, Delaware, Maryland Synod, and the Metro New York Synod for a project with the Earth Charter. Susan has been very, very much a part of that and has done some wonderful work on that. So this is kind of the fruit of the work that was done and still continues to be done through the Earth Charter. And if you haven't read the Earth Charter, I'll send you that link too. That is a wonderful document that incorporates so many issues of justice and peace and regeneration and so many things. So anyway, this was Richard is a delight for those who don't know him, but they were very committed to using no chemicals and being as sustainable as possible and using the community to be a part of making this happen. So this was the first part. I wish he was here to tell you more about it, but they started with straw bales to plant their plants in. There's the church in the background. And then you can see how things have begun to grow. This was last summer. it's for wild, you can see the zinnias over there and all the things that are coming up. This was very much a community project. So not only the people that were in the congregation were a part of it, but the people in Waterville and there was a program that they worked with, and I'm not coming up with it. Maybe those of you who've heard him speak about it. There was a program with young people that were particularly engaged with this as well. So it was truly a community garden. And here's another shot of some of the flowers, the vegetable and wildflowers. And then this was was this at May? Well, anyway, people could buy a mum. They could donate a certain amount of money to have a mum planted. And this was their memorial garden. It must have been a Memorial Day. So that was also another lovely way to incorporate the community and other people. But I just think they must have the most beautiful soil up there because their plants are just flourishing. But it was a great example of how to do community gardening, and not just in word, but really, really incorporating the whole idea of community. And I know Kathy and Steve, you said you guys have recently started one. Do you want to say a little bit more about that?
Sure. We're in the process of starting it this year, this spring. I went to meet with a group called Common Grounds here in Topeka, and I became a member, which then they had a class, and there's actually a big conference in March on the 23rd where they have speakers coming in to give us guidance. But from that, my intention with the garden is to work with the daycare that we have. Well, it's actually not a daycare, it's a preschool for children and within our community. And then in the summer, we have a summer program. And to incorporate the two groups, many of which the families, they're struggling, they're working hard, and they don't have a lot of extra money to do to go buy all the fresh vegetables and things that we all should be eating. So we're doing this with the children to make it an educational component and helping them grow the seed from the seeds right on through to harvesting. And then the idea is to start with the preschool. They will do the initial planting with the seeds, and then we will turn it over to the summer program, but allowing all the children that are part of the preschool to come back with their families and be able to take produce all summer long. And the children will also help to harvest and provide for our blessing box. And we'll have the box and a table there with fresh vegetables for our community, anyone in need. And our blessing box, I'm sure all of yours are, it's constantly having to be refilled. And last year, one of our members had a tremendous success with her tomato plants. And she would put them out and they were gone in a few minutes. People just loved it. So my idea was to start with the youth, and because we want to start with them to get them going and keep the momentum going. And then we want to be able to start growing it into more within our own community, all of our neighbors. We have a huge property. And as everyone has told me when I tell them where we're from, you have that big plot of land that's just sitting there, and we want to be able to utilize that. So we're starting small, and we're starting with our children, and then being able to provide more opportunities for more people. And then we're going to end it with, at the summertime, with a pizza party where we're going to teach them how to take the tomatoes and make a sauce and the herbs and all of that, just teaching them and sending that information home, and then a kit for them to take to their parents to do something at home with them as well. So our pastor was thrilled with the idea, and so that's what we're starting. So, and we have applied for grants through Common Grounds. And they also, last Saturday we went and they had tables of packets of seeds.
Oh.
And that no charge. You could just take however many you wanted. And they kept telling me, you don't have enough, take more. I said, well, no, we're starting small. So I don't want to let those for the people that could use them. But, and then in March, April, they have where they will have the actual plants for broccoli, cauliflower, and I believe it's tomatoes that we can come and get as many as we need for our garden. And again, there's no charge for that. And I think Common Grounds, I believe, is throughout the country from the way they talked. I had never heard of them before, but they're an amazing group and they do so much, and they will come and help you start your garden. If there was one gentleman that was just there to tell us that if you need someone to come and till the soil, call me and I'll come over and do it for you. You know, they just volunteer. So there's a lot of in the community. So I encourage you to look at that if any of you are deciding to do a community garden. So
That's wonderful.
it's
That's
exciting. I'm
wonderful.
anxious with the children because I just love our vacation Bible school. So I thought that's the best place to start with the
Yeah.
children.
That's great. That's great. And I think starting small, we had in the last Cool Congregations cohort, we had someone talk about food and gardening, and his thing was you don't have to start with an acre. You can
Right.
start with 3 or 4 beds and see how it goes and get people, but to help. And the whole idea of making the pizza is so great. And I know that's something that Interfaith Power and Light does. They have a pizza garden kit. It helps people to see the connection between the land and the food that we eat. And that, especially for children who often don't have an opportunity to do that, it's really, really important. And getting youth involved, that's one thing about Creation Camp is you can incorporate different generations so well. And so that's a great idea. And reaching out to your community like that. There's one of our churches who got another Earth Charter grant in Peace in Manhattan, and they also have a garden, and they use the produce in their food pantry. They have a larger food pantry, but that's a great way to help provide fresh produce for so many people who often don't have access or can't afford it. So that's wonderful. Oh, could we just clone you, all of you guys on this call? Gabrielle, these are the people who are just like making such a difference. I wish I could just clone you and put you all over the place. So there's also in the plan, there's also a guide from World Hunger, ELCA World Hunger, so that can also give additional ideas about community gardens. So any questions for Steve and Kathy about that? Okay. Well, I'm going to just make a couple of comments about our other areas of congregational life that we cover in March. In the worship session, there is a blessing prayer for seeds, which can be connected with the community garden or can also be used on Easter. When I did this in our church, when we lived in Salina, we used this, and we actually did it at Earth Day, and we had the kids, and the parents kind of stood around and we talked, but the kids planted seeds, the blessed seeds, they planted them in the flower beds at the church. And then every week when they came, they could water them and see how they were growing. And, it was a way to continue to engage them. We also had, everybody got to take a packet of seeds home, and the extra seeds we took to either members who were not able to be there or people in the neighborhood to connect them with this idea of how we grow in our faith. And members were then encouraged to send pictures from their seeds that they planted in their home gardens, and they were included in the newsletter each month. So that was a fun way to keep the ongoing activity. I got to take seeds to these 2 little kids that I knew. Her mom and I worked together at the hospital. And so we would exchange pictures so we could see how our seeds were doing. And it made for just a really wonderful connection. And so that's another way that we can use the idea of gardening and planting and all of that in making relationships, which it's really, really important. So there's that blessing of for the seeds can be used. Under education, there's a great resource called Awakening God's Call to Earthkeeping. There's a link that's included in there, and it's a free download. And what I have found with that resource, I've used that a lot of different times, not necessarily always as a study, but it's just got so many great resources. Like if I need for scripture text about the earth, and I'm, coming blank, she's got a great section on that. It's just a wealth of information, but it also makes for a really good study guide if you want to do that. So I'm hoping that our church, our pastor has expressed interest in doing that at some point. And then for advocacy and public witness, we included the Earth Hour, which is on March 23rd. And again, the link is in there. The idea of Earth Hour is that all across the globe at 8 p.m., whatever time zone you're in at 8 p.m., you turn off the lights for an hour. And it's a time for us to really think about the earth, the way we utilize resources, and how we need to better be stewards of what God has done. This year, they're also encouraging an hour of service on behalf of Earth. So it might be planning another event, or one thing, we're going to do this at our church, and we're going to have candles so that people can see, but we're also going to invite people to share stories about really impactful activities or events or experiences they've had in the natural world that have come to help them to understand better how important our relationships are, not just with humans, but with everything that God has made. And so that we can share that as a better way of feeding our faith and our ministry in earth care. We are also going to invite our neighbors to join us, so that the neighbors around the church, because it's not going to be like super religious, but it's really important about building relationships. So we want to enjoy them to come and have snacks with us and share stories. And it's also important in our context because we have 3 congregations that worship in the same building. We have 2 Lutheran congregations and a Presbyterian. So it's we've just started doing this the last few months. And so it's, there are some growing pains, and this is a way for us to get to know each other better as individuals rather than just, oh, they're from Salem or they're from the Presbyterian Church, but to get to know each other one-on-one. So when we see each other on Sunday morning, people have more relationships. So that's an example of Earth Hour. I know when I was on the campus at Bethany, we did Earth Hour, and it was great because we sat in the dark, but I think we need some lights. But with college students, it was a great opportunity. They shared very deeply about things. There's something about darkness and vulnerability and the time to be intentional about sharing. And it was pretty magical how that worked. So I'm hoping some good things will happen at our congregation. So those are some ideas for March. Are there thoughts or ideas or things that you want to share with the group tonight?
Could I just ask a question? When Earth Hour is? When did you say?
March 23rd.
So it's Saturday.
It's a Saturday night. Yeah.
We're having an Adopt a Stream workshop that day. So we probably won't get back together again in the evening, but
you
we
know
can
what?
advertise it.
Yeah, or you could just, even if you don't do an hour, you could even just do 10 minutes or something. just as a way to introduce the concept. One year, I know I did it at my house by myself, and well, my husband was home, and I told him he had to turn off the TV. He wasn't very happy about that. But it was important, and he just sat in silence, and I had a little candle, and I journaled, and kind of whatever came to mind. So you can use it in lots of different ways, but it really does help focus our attention on the very ground upon which we walk and the earth that sustains us. Other thoughts, ideas, or things that you'd like to hear more about in the future? Is this working to just kind of look ahead to the next month and see what's coming up? Do you like that? Is that helpful? Okay. I love hearing stories about what everybody's doing, so I think it's great fun.
Well, did I already talk about a video that we're doing in our synod?
Please share. Please
Okay.
share.
So we wrote up a little service, a little 5-minute litany. And we're inviting congregations to videotape themselves doing this little service on Earth Day. And then we're going to splice them together and
Oh,
show it at the synod assembly in June. It's mainly to give tribute to Deacon Laura Heller,
yeah.
who was our leader for many years and passed away last
Oh,
summer. So, planting a tree in congregations all over the place, or tending to a tree that she already helped sponsor,
oh,
over the years. So it's a lovely tribute, we're hoping.
oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. I like that. I love the idea of doing that video.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's something we could do for our Synod Assembly, just to be
Absolutely.
visible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. It would be fun to get to share all these different, just even how long is it each piece that you're going to do?
I don't know, because I don't know how many people are going to submit videos.
Okay.
The whole thing we think should be no longer than we have a span 4 to 7 minutes, but I'm thinking 4.5 minutes is probably long enough video to have.
So you'll just take little snippets.
Yeah, like the best of the best,
Yeah, but we could do that. I mean, we could have Kathy and Steve out with their solar panels in their community garden, and Cheryl on her meditative walk. And I mean, there's all kinds of things we could do. Ooh, that would be very fun.
Yeah, that kind of thing we did do a few years ago, video wise, when we were on Zoom. So,
Oh yeah,
planned ahead and did that. Yeah,
because we have a Janice Hawley. She's a pastor out in at Holy Cross in Creve Coeur, which is in St. Louis, and she has they have it's not an audio visual, that's dating me, but a person who works with tech, who really knows how to do things. So I'm wondering if we could do that. Ooh, if I could would you guys be willing to do that if we were able to get that put together? Okay. So, Susan, would you be willing to? I know it's specific about Laura, but would you be willing to share that little service that you've written up?
Yeah, I can do that.
That'd be great. Also, I'm going to share tonight. I'll send out the Earth Charter website. Susan has done this beautiful job on putting that website together. So it will give you a chance to see all those things that group has done. So again, all this incredible creative energy. It's quite wonderful. So, but it comes from God. So the master creator himself. So any other thoughts or questions tonight? Okay. Well, I do wish for all of you a very blessed and thoughtful Lent. These are days of deep needs in our world and deep hungers of the heart. And so may this be a very fruitful and thoughtful Lent for all of us. And we will gather next month on March 12th and see how things are going. And in the meantime, if you have questions or ideas or thoughts, send them on to me. I will put together an email and send that out to you tonight. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Night.
Good night.
Everybody.
Night.